Adobe very smartly moved to the Netflix model. They started charging monthly subscription fees. The Netflix model only works if the value you are providing remains ever prevalent and ever relevant. Adobe could very much be responsible for its own demise. Welcome to the Crossover Connections, the Jack Wang Podcast. My name is Jack. I'm a scientist and college professor based at an Australian university. Whose job is it anyway? A look at the latest headlines and how that informs the jobs of the future. One of the most famous subscription Netflix model payment plans for software is the Adobe Creative Cloud and the Adobe Creative Suite. If you're a photographer, a filmmaker, a graphic artist, an animator, you will be in the Adobe ecosystem in one way or another, whether you like it or not. Back in the day, you could pay a one-off fee, a couple of $1,000 for Photoshop, and you would use Photoshop for years and years until the next version of Photoshop is released. And Adobe very smartly moved to the Netflix model. They started charging monthly subscription fees, telling you as the photographer, as the artist, you'll always have access to the latest and greatest software, but we will now ask you to pay a monthly fee as opposed to a one-off fee. And this article is from a photography aggregate news website, Petapixel. Adobe staff worry their AI could kill the jobs of their own customers. Some employees at Adobe are expressing concern that the company's advancements in artificial intelligence will kill the jobs of its current customer base. Adobe employees are expressing concern that moving forward with AI technologies will cause companies to downsize graphic design departments, and one senior designer at the company says it is already happening. Adobe, by embedding AI into their software, by taking money from people as a monthly fee, saying you need it for your job, we'll charge you monthly, you always have the latest tools, when their own tools are making their customer base redundant or less employable or less valuable, is that going to ultimately affect its own bottom line? So Adobe's adoption of the Netflix model would mean that they will need that money to keep going. It's not like they've already sold a whole bunch of licenses for Photoshop and Lightroom and Illustrator that they can coast off those resources for a little while longer. No, they need that fresh set of monthly income, everyone's subscription fee just on Netflix coming in so they can keep developing these features. But these features are actually outcompeting these people who are paying Adobe for their services. It's outcompeting them for their job. And if they don't have a job, there's no reason for them to pay for a subscription to Adobe. They will just stop anytime and drop the ball. Adobe could very much be responsible for its own demise. But it's stuck between a rock and a hard place. If it doesn't adopt these AI features, it will fall behind very quickly and it will lose market share. So it has no choice but to embrace the revolution that AI has brought about. But this shows you another flaw for the Netflix model. The Netflix model only works if the value you are providing remains ever prevalent and ever relevant. If your customer base no longer has need of your services, then the Netflix model won't work. People who are on Netflix often cancel their subscription for months at a time and sign up again when they see a show that's interesting to them. Netflix is already under pressure from that pricing model, and I suspect to see any other service, whether it be software or healthcare, if it opts for this subscription-based model where there's a flat fee coming in, as soon as the climate changes, as soon as the variability appears in the demand of your service, that model is not quite so intact and everything is up for negotiations. That brings us to the end of another episode of Crossover Connections with Jack Wang. You can find the full episodes wherever you find your podcast. My name is Jack. Hope to connect you again next time around.